Hello everyone, this is Ange. Welcome to another episode of the Visual Novel Monthly Recap. This is a video series where I highlight news related to major visual novel releases and the community for each month. In this video, I'll highlight anything that happened in November of 2022. And before I continue, a quick shout out to Bruce Gone Loose for doing the editing for this video while I'm still recovering from my hand and arm injuries. Please subscribe to him if you want to see some nicely edited visual novel reviews. So while fans are waiting for the full translation of Mahotsukai no Yoru, or Witch on the Holy Night, thankfully Type Moon was nice enough to provide a demo that translates, I believe, a portion of some of the earlier chapters. You can get it on the PS4 and the Switch. On that note, it looks like there are pre-orders for the physical versions of Witch on the Holy Night, both for Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4. It looks like you can get them on Amazon and possibly other places. For those who have been following the VTubers for the Go Nippon sisters, unfortunately, in early November, they had their last stream, which they called their graduation video. I believe the reasoning was something along the lines of they actually had to go back to being in real life tourist guides again. Thankfully, I believe the creator has confirmed that they are still doing a sequel for Go Nippon, as per promised when they reached 10,000 subscribers. I believe he said since he's basically doing it as a solo project now, it's likely going to take a little bit longer than when he was working for Overdrive, which is now a dead company, by the way. So hopefully we get news on that sometime in the future, likely within a few years. So for any fans of Katawa Shoujo, you might be surprised to know that for the longest time, apparently there was a kind of soft ban on making fan works related to Katawa Shoujo. However, as of November 2022, it looks like they've finally made it so that you are allowed to make any fan works of any kind as long as you don't charge any money. So for people who remember the Doki Doki Literature Club modding community and all that stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if some people would like to do it for Katawa Shoujo, though considering Katawa Shoujo is now over 10 years old, maybe might be a little bit late, but who knows, maybe there's some fans that like it still enough to do that. Fan translator Suki Shiro has made a fan translation for a visual novel called Hokenshitsu no Sensei to Shabondama Churoku no Joshu, developed by Citrus. To be honest, I don't really know much about this visual novel, besides apparently that the main heroine is a lolly-looking character, and it appears to be a mostly kinetic story. Jast has released Gore Screaming Show on Steam and their own store. The only thing I know about this visual novel is that it's a horror-ish visual novel, and it was, I believe, written by the same writer who made Dead End Aegis. If you want to hear more details about what Gore Screaming Show is like, be sure to check out the review made by the August Hale. After several years of waiting, Sekai Project has finally released the full trilogy of the Clockwork Leyline series, with specifically the third visual novel, Flowers Falling in the Morning Mist, now on Steam and Dempasoft. I still personally have not read this visual novel yet, but I believe it says something when on both VNDB and Edo Gamescape, the second and especially the third visual novel in the Leyline series are some of the highest rated visual novels of all time, and I heard the plot for it is pretty darn good. It looks like Jast Blue, the Yaoi or Boys Love division of Jast, has released Slow Damage on the Jast store. Don't really know much about it because I don't really keep track of all the popular Boys Love or Yaoi visual novels. Shirobune has released Monochrome Mobius, a Japanese RPG based around the Utawareru Mono series. I believe as far as I know, it's basically a fan servicey JRPG that has a lot of references to the previous Utawareru Mono games, but features some original characters just for this game. I believe right now you can only get it on Steam. For those who've been keeping track of the Yosuga no Sora series fan translation progress, it looks like they've had quite a big update last month. So they've actually been working on the sequel, which is called Haruka no Sora, and it looks like they've finished the translations for the Sora and Yahiro's routes. It looks like they translated a lot of the other visual novel too, but it looks like they're still looking for more staff, including coders, programmers, someone to uncensor stuff, and even a translator. They're also looking to translate Yosuga no Sora, the original, into other languages. Manga Gamer has released a visual novel called Nightmare X Sisters, Sacrifice of Lust Hell. Just based on the preview picture on Twitter, I'm going to assume it's some kind of dark nukige of some sorts, but I don't personally look much into it, but I know there are fans of these type of games out there. Looks like Sekai Project is finally on fire this month, as not only do they finish their Leyline series, but they finally, after almost 10 years after the original's fan translation, has released the fan disc for Hoshizora no Memoria Eternal Heart. This is a fan disc which has purely after stories for all the main heroines in the original Hoshizora no Memoria, a visual novel released by Favorite. I might make a review that in more detail soon, but just know that just the two main white hair heroines have feature-length routes, while the other main heroines have really short routes, but they kind of cover in the gaps from the original. It looks like Alisoft is starting to break more of their Manga Gamer exclusivity. Specifically, Alisoft is looking to move Beat Angel Escalator R, Beat Blades Haruka, and the original Evenical to Faku, GOG, JAST, and Kagura games. Originally, I believe these three visual novels were just on Manga Gamer and Steam only, so if you prefer other stores, expect future Alisoft releases and possibly previous ones released by Manga Gamer to be released on multiple platforms. For any fans of White Album 2, it looks like the fan translation team of the original has made a translation for White Album 2 mini after story translation. It looks like this patch is actually not quite a full patch, since it only does full translations for the after stories of Kazusa True, Setsuna True, and Kazusa Normal. Apparently the only things not translated are just bonus content audio dramas, which will be in a future release. However, I assume they released this early since most people probably just want to see after stories for what are basically the main routes of the original White Album 2 coda. For those who are fans of the company Giga, who developed things like Baldur Force, Baldur Sky, and various moege, unfortunately, they announced that they're going to be shutting down all operations in March 31st, 2023. I know some people were likely looking for hope for Sekai Project or someone else to do translations for some of Giga's other games, but considering that Sekai Project hasn't really announced or released anything besides Baldur Sky, I think it's safe to say that at the very least, we're not going to get any official translations for Giga titles in the future. While there's no news for a English translation at this point, it looks like the Urarumono creators are making a spin-off visual novel called Gizoku Tante no Suri for PS4 and Switch. Love Lab has finally released another visual novel, this one called Made for Loving You, developed by Azarashi Software and IMEL. From what I see, it appears to be a one-heroine visual novel, possibly a Nukige, with animated 3D graphics kind of similar to Nekopara, which I believe is called the Emote Engine. It looks like Just Blue was able to release 2 visual novels this month, as they have released Sorcerer's Choice, Angel or Demon. The only thing I know that's notable about this release is that it's the first one not developed by Nitro Plus Chiral, and was instead developed by Verniette, so hopefully that's a good sign for Yaoi Boys Love fans who want visual novels that aren't made by Nitro Plus Chiral. Speaking of JAS, it looks like they've created some kind of new store credit system. It looks like they specifically kind of based it on Manga Gamer's system, where while you still have to pay in terms of US dollars, you actually get 10% of your value back when you buy a visual novel on their store, and then you can accrue those to potentially get free future purchases. Combine that with regional pricing, it looks like JAS is trying to find a way for buyers to want to use their store as much as possible and get as much bang for their buck. And that is it for November 2022 visual novel news. As always, if you have any feedback, positive or negative, feel free to leave a comment below or any of my social medias. I want to give a special shout out to Marie Antoinette, who is now going on over 3 months of being a paid member of the visual novel weirdo level on my channel. Much appreciated. I also want to give a shout out for Yokai of Kujo and Lominix for donating to my Ko-Fi this month. Always much appreciated. See you all next month.